the card where I got drafted by the Patriots, 199, and it sits in there, and I look at it next to kind of the end of my career where there were some really cool jerseys where I broke some lifelong records, one for passing yards in a career. And that was 23 years between the day I was drafted and when that jersey was worn. And it's quite a journey it was. And I don't know everybody that's displayed artifacts and items in the Hall of Excellence. I know a lot of them. But even if I didn't know them, I probably knew what they stood for. I probably knew the values that they possessed in themselves, how they were supported by their families and their friends, by their coaches, by their mentors. They all had a unique story. And what you'll see is a jersey of mine. What I see is people that supported me and loved me, played with me, fought with me, bled with me. They know everything about me. And I see this piece of cloth, jersey, sweat stained, blood stained, and I say, you know what? Couldn't do it without my boy Alex. Couldn't do it without Kevin. I couldn't do it without Ben. I couldn't do it without my mom and dad. Couldn't do it without Thomas or Jeff or Jim or Raul, everyone that's sitting in here. So everybody in that hall has people that inspired them, that supported them, that held them up. My mom didn't let me play football till I was a high school freshman. She didn't want her little boy to get hurt. I was the youngest of four with three sisters that were all better athletes than I was at the time. And I always wanted to be known as something different than Maureen, Julie, and Nancy's little brother. And I wrote an essay in high school that said, you know, one day they're going to be known as Tom Brady's sisters. And I wasn't much of a student. I focused a lot on my PE grades. My English wasn't always the best, but I think that was one of the better grades that I got. And the fact that my mom allowed me to play, she didn't want me to play Pop Warner, but I tried out for the freshman football team at Sarah High School, and they're now a state powerhouse in California. But at the time, they were known for a baseball school because one of my goats, Barry Bonds, played baseball there. And he was the guy that we all looked up to. We wanted to be like Barry Bonds. And when I was a high school freshman, I tried out for football, but I really wanted to play pro baseball. And as I got going in my football career, I made the freshman football team. We were 0-8. I was the backup quarterback. They never put me in the game. And the fact that I could look at it many years later, from being a 14-year-old kid to almost turning 48 now, is pretty amazing because it was a long journey. And I fought really hard over the course of a long time to be the starting quarterback. By my senior year, I got somewhat recruited by a lot of schools. One of them was the College of San Mateo, a local community college, which that could have been a fallback option. I got recruited by Cal Berkeley. They were a local school. They were a great kind of institution. My sister had gone there, but I wanted to make a name for myself, and I wanted to challenge myself. And Michigan, in a crazy way, recruited me because Michigan was where all the top-rated recruits went. I was the backup quarterback on an 0-8 freshman team. And they offered me a scholarship in the spring of my senior year, and I went back to the college. I went into that stadium. It was an empty 112,000-foot stadium where they called my name, from Tom Brady, from Sarah High School, San Mateo, Tom Brady. And I looked up at that empty stadium, and that's when I decided where I wanted to go to college. Now, I had no idea if I'd ever play at that college, but I called my dad from the Detroit airport on the way home, and I said, Dad, I know where I want to go to school. And he cried his eyes out because his baby boy was leaving Cal Berkeley and the College of San Mateo to go to Michigan. And when I showed up to Michigan, as we know, Michigan's quite a bit different than California. And I needed to be toughened up. I needed to be toughened up by the Midwest and the cold and the fact that my parents weren't there to save the day. I needed to grow up. My mom wasn't going to do laundry. My dad wasn't going to bail me out for extra money for, weekend events. I had to work summer jobs at golf courses, and and as a construction manager, you can believe that, Jeff, if you ever need an intern. That's right. So when I showed up on campus in Michigan, I was the 7th quarterback. But I was a backup in high school, and I worked hard to be the starter. And you know what I did? You know what I realized I had to do? I had to work my ass off. And I had to work my ass off the whole way because there was nothing that was ever given. And when I was 7th, I thought about, man, I got to get up there and get there with Greasy and Dreisbach and the other guys who have a good chance to play. And I fought really hard. And every day was a stressful moment. Every day was a day that I had to find something within myself far away from home where I had to show up and compete. And I worked pretty hard at the end of my first year, moved up to about 4th. In my second year, I moved up to 3rd. And there was a sports psychologist named Greg Hart, and Greg passed away about 5 months ago. And I would go in there and bitch and complain to everybody all the time that I wasn't getting the opportunities that other people were getting. Other guys were the coach's favorites. I wasn't. They were getting more opportunities than I was. And he said, why don't you just worry about yourself? And if there was one lesson in life that I took from high school through college into my pro career was worry about yourself and do the best with the opportunity that you get. Don't worry about what everyone else does. Don't go comparing yourself to the opportunities that the other guys are getting. Worry about what you do. And when you do, bring the enthusiasm, the encouragement, the optimism that people need in order to be successful. So when he smacked me in the face with that message, I showed up to practice every day with that enthusiasm and that excitement to earn the trust and respect of the people that I worked with. And I did that, and I earned a spot in my 3rd year as the backup quarterback. And going into my 4th year and 5th year, I'm not going to bore you with all the details, but I won the starting job. And it was a hard-fought job because we recruited the #1 ranked quarterback in the country in my 4th year, and they really wanted him to play. But because I didn't worry about him, I worried about myself, I brought that good attitude every day to my team. And I brought it was positive, it was focused on the team results, and it was focused on encouraging other players to be the best that they could be. So I had a decent college career, unbeknownst by any of the professional scouts. Those are real geniuses. And that draft card got turned in the 6th round, 199th pick overall. Of course, it was a lonely couple days when I didn't get picked in the 1st or 2nd or 3rd round like I thought I was going to get picked. If I had the baseball bat from that day, that I was walking around the block on hitting trees and shrubs and anything that was near me as my parents walked in front of me and behind me as a way to blow off steam. And then with the 199th pick, the Patriots called and said they chose me to be on their team, not necessarily their quarterback. So I showed up to New England, not knowing where New England was, because of course New England's not a state. New England's a region. And again, I wasn't much of a student in college either. So I showed up with the great attitude, and I showed up with the same endearing attitude that I had with my Michigan teammates that named me team captain to the Patriots, which was very different because, as we know in pro sports, it's very individual focused. It's always about me and my contract, me and my celebrity, me and my fame, what I can get from this moment. And I brought a different attitude, and I put the team first. And Coach Belichick saw that in me, and he was trying to change the culture of what that team was, because the Patriots lost a lot.